Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa may have ultimately split up. Things have gone off the rails on WWE SmackDown this week, and this may be the start of everything changing. Jacob Fatu faced Braun Strowman on WWE SmackDown tonight in a match that has been in the making for some time. The two stars have been feuding for months now, and while Fatu has had the advantage for most of the feud, things have not always gone well for him. He has suffered from being put through tables and pushed back. He was looking for some revenge tonight, but unfortunately, he didn't get it. Just as his match was heading to a point where things would be decided, Tama Tonga was sent by Solo Sikoa to interfere. Sikoa then showed up too and hit the Samoan spike on Strowman, stepping into the match to apparently save Fatu. It's safe to say that when the match ended in a DQ, with Strowman winning because of it, Fatu was furious. He confronted Solo Sikoa backstage and made sure that he knew what he was thinking. Sikoa said that he was trying to help, but Fatu was not having it. Jacob Fatu said that he had better watch it and pay attention to his own business. He implied that he was done with Sikoa and that his business was no longer the former tribal chiefs to care about. Trying to help? Who are you trying to help? This ain't anybody's business, and it sure ain't your business. You better watch it, Yus, Fatu said. Now, it remains to be seen what happens next, but this is apparently a split between Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. WWE SmackDown's latest episode ended in shocking fashion as Jacob Fatu, the powerhouse of the Bloodline, delivered an emotional and furious promo before walking out on Solo Sikoa. The faction that once seemed unbreakable is now crumbling before our eyes, and Jacob Fatu's frustrations may have sealed the fate of Roman Reigns' legacy. For weeks, tension had been brewing within the new version of the Bloodline, with Solo Sikoa attempting to establish himself as the undisputed leader in Roman Reigns' absence. However, cracks began to show when Jacob Fatu, despite his dominance in the ring, felt underappreciated and overlooked. Last night, those frustrations boiled over, leading to an explosive confrontation that no one saw coming. Jacob Fatu feels disrespected after SmackDown went off the air. WWE's digital team caught up with a furious Jacob Fatu backstage. His words left the WWE universe stunned. I was brought into this family, into the Bloodline, because of what I bring to the table. I ain't here to be no backup. I ain't here to play second fiddle to nobody, Fatu seethed. Solo wants to run things like he's the head of the table? He wants to make decisions for me? Nah, man. That's not how I was raised. Fatu went on to say that he was promised a future where the Bloodline would dominate WWE together, but instead, he feels like he's simply being used as a weapon by Solo rather than a true equal. Ever since I came in, I've been cleaning up their mess. Every time Solo got in trouble, I had to step in and save the day. But when it comes time for me to eat, for me to shine, all of a sudden, they tell me to wait my turn. That don't sit right with me. Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu. The breaking point, the boiling point, came earlier in the night during a heated backstage segment where Solo Sikoa was seen berating Jacob Fatu for failing to secure a win against Kevin Owens last week. Solo, speaking with the authority of Roman Reigns, told Fatu to do better and focus on the mission. That was enough to set Fatu off. You don't talk to me like that, Yus, Fatu shot back, stepping nose to nose with Solo. You ain't Roman. You ain't even close. The tension was unbearable as the two giants stared each other down. Paul Heyman, visibly shaken, tried to intervene, pleading with Fatu to acknowledge Solo's leadership. But Jacob Fatu wasn't having it. Paul, I respect you, but you of all people should know, I ain't the type to just bow down. If Roman got a problem, tell him to come say it to my face. But Solo? He ain't my tribal chief. The moment of defiance was met with gasps from those watching, and even Tama Tonga and Tangaloa, the other Bloodline members, seemed unsure of what to do. The walkout and amp, what's next? Later that night, after Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga picked up a victory in the main event, Jacob Fatu was seen watching from the entrance ramp with his arms crossed. He didn't celebrate with them. He didn't even look impressed. As the show was about to end, Fatu grabbed a microphone and stunned the crowd. "I'm done playing games," he said. "Solo, I respect you as my family, but I don't follow weak leaders. If I'm not respected in the bloodline, then maybe I don't need the bloodline." With that, Jacob Fatu walked away, leaving Solo Sikoa looking furious and confused in the ring. The question now remains, is this truly the end for Jacob Fatu in the bloodline, or will Roman Reigns return to clean up the mess? And if Fatu is done, what's next for him? A solo run? A war against the bloodline itself? One thing is certain, this war within the Samoan dynasty is far from over. Solo Sikoa to add 34-year-old star to replace Jacob Fatu, WrestleMania twist? For predictions for the new bloodline following SmackDown, the new bloodline seems to have a few problems following the latest edition of WWE SmackDown. Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman went head-to-head in another battle of the monsters to determine the next challenger for the United States Championship. However, Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga ruined the party as they attacked Strowman and awarded him a disqualification win. LA Knight cleared the ring as the new bloodline beat down Braun Strowman after the match. It was clear that Jacob Fatu wasn't happy with Solo Sikoa's decision to cost him the contest. Check out the 4 predictions of the new bloodline after Solo Sikoa cost Jacob Fatu on SmackDown. 4. The new bloodline ruins the big match on WWE SmackDown. Braun Strowman won Friday night's match against Jacob Fatu by disqualification. The win means he will get a shot at LA Knight's United States Championship on next week's show in London. Knight helped Strowman fend off an attack by the new bloodline, and it looks like Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, and Tama Tonga will return for revenge. The 3 heels could spoil the show next week. WWE fans could see the heels show up during next week's contest and attack both men to end the match in a no contest. This angle would protect both men, making the United States Championship picture more interesting. 3. Jacob Fatu gets the match he's looking for. It would have been good to see Jacob Fatu get a match for the United States Championship in London. However, the company may have bigger plans for the Samoan werewolf going forward, as he is currently the top member of the new bloodline. Fatu could get the title match for a bigger stage if he attacks both men on next week's show. Fans could see him tear Braun Strowman and LA Knight apart and demand a championship match. Nick Aldis could make a triple threat match for the United States Championship official for WrestleMania 41 with Jacob Fatu in the mix. The angle could see Fatu pin Strowman to win his first singles title in the company. 2. Solo Sikoa loses his enforcer. Solo Sikoa's recent decisions haven't worked well with the rest of the new bloodline. He caused a DQ on Friday night, and Jacob Fatu vented his anger backstage. Fatu worked as Sikoa's enforcer in the past, but his loss in the tribal combat on Raw's Netflix premiere has turned the faction on its head. WWE fans could see the Samoan werewolf walk out of the group in the coming weeks. This could allow Fatu to work on his own before WrestleMania 41, possibly get a United States Championship match, or start feuding with Solo Sikoa before the show of shows. 1. Solo adds a new member to the bloodline. With tensions rising within the group, Solo Sikoa could continue acting as the leader and make a big decision to infuriate Jacob Fatu even more. He could add a 34-year-old star to the group. Hikuleo has signed up with the company and awaits his in-ring debut. Recent reports suggest that he is doing well in preparation. Sikoa could add Hikuleo to the group before or during WrestleMania 41 when Fatu competes for the United States Championship. This could result in Fatu losing the title and being kicked out of the faction, with the 34-year-old replacing him. The tides are shifting in WWE's Bloodline saga, and Solo Sikoa is at the heart of the storm. With Roman Reigns absent and Jacob Fatu suffering his first pinfall loss, Solo is faced with a crucial decision: reshape the bloodline or watch it crumble. SmackDown left fans buzzing with speculation that Solo could add a new enforcer, possibly a 34-year-old powerhouse, to reinforce his faction. Could this move set up a WrestleMania twist? Let's dive into 4 bold predictions for the new bloodline's direction after SmackDown. 1. Solo Sikoa replaces Jacob Fatu with Bronson Reed. Jacob Fatu was meant to be the Bloodline's unstoppable monster, but his pinfall loss sent a clear message: he's not invincible. Solo Sikoa cannot afford any more cracks in his foundation. That's why adding Bronson Reed, a 34-year-old powerhouse with Samoan heritage, makes perfect sense. Reed has already proven himself as a dominant force on Raw, but he's been stuck without a real direction. A move to SmackDown as Solo's new enforcer would reinvigorate his career while giving the Bloodline the brute strength they need. His bulldozing style and ability to dismantle opponents make him a more reliable wrecking ball than Fatu, who let his emotions cloud his judgment. Imagine Solo formally introducing Reed as the Bloodline's new tsunami on SmackDown. Reed's first order of business? Sending a message to anyone questioning Solo's leadership. Whether it's obliterating Kevin Owens, LA Knight, or even Cody Rhodes, this could cement Reed as the most feared enforcer in WWE today. This move also opens the door for Jacob Fatu's exit, potentially leading to a personal war against the Bloodline that could play out on the road to WrestleMania. 2. Paul Heyman resists, but Solo Sikoa overrules him. Paul Heyman has been in a delicate position since Roman Reigns' absence. He never fully endorsed Solo Sikoa as the new tribal chief, but he also hasn't outright defied him. With Solo making drastic moves like replacing Jacob Fatu, Heyman may finally voice his concerns, only to be shut down. Heyman could argue that Bronson Reed isn't Samoan dynasty blood and that bringing in an outsider is an insult to their legacy. But Solo, fed up with Heyman's hesitation, could remind him that Reigns left him in charge, not Heyman. In a shocking turn, Solo might even fire Heyman as the Bloodline's wise man, severing the last link to Roman's reign. If Heyman is exiled, it sets up an intriguing scenario. Will he try to return to Reigns, or does he align himself with a new force to dismantle the Bloodline? Heyman has always been a survivor, and a Solo-led faction without him could spell long-term disaster. 3. A WrestleMania Bloodline civil war begins. Solo Sikoa's aggressive leadership style is bound to create fractures. While Jimmy USO has begrudgingly followed him, his loyalty remains questionable. Jacob Fatu's removal could be the final straw that sparks a Bloodline civil war. With WrestleMania on the horizon, the seeds of rebellion could be planted as Jimmy USO, Jacob Fatu, and even JUSO on Raw begin to push back against Solo's rule. If Solo exiles Heyman and installs Bronson Reed as his new enforcer, this could enrage Reigns, setting up an epic return. Imagine a WrestleMania scenario where Roman Reigns returns not to reclaim the undisputed WWE title, but to reclaim the Bloodline itself. He could call out Solo for corrupting the faction and turning it into his personal army. The match? Roman Reigns vs. Solo Sikoa for control of the Bloodline, a dream match no one saw coming. Alternatively, if Roman isn't ready to return by WrestleMania, we could see an all-out Bloodline war, Solo and Amp, Bronson Reed vs. Jimmy and Amp, Jacob Fatu, a battle for the future of the faction. 4. Solo Sikoa sends a message to Cody Rhodes. With WrestleMania 41 speculation running wild, one thing is clear: Cody Rhodes will still be a top target. Even if he's champion or feuding with another challenger, Solo Sikoa cannot ignore the man who ended Roman Reigns' historic title reign. Now leading his own version of the Bloodline, Solo needs to send a message: the Bloodline is not dead. The best way to do that? Have Bronson Reed demolish Cody Rhodes in a surprise attack. Picture this: Cody is celebrating after defending his title against another challenger, only for the lights to flicker. When they return, Bronson Reed is standing over him, Solo Sikoa smirking from the stage. This could be the first shot fired in what could eventually lead to Solo versus Cody at SummerSlam, a clash that could determine who truly carries the Bloodline forward. Final thoughts: a new Bloodline era begins with SmackDown shifting the landscape. Solo Sikoa stands at a crossroads. By adding Bronson Reed, he would send a clear message: this is my Bloodline now. But power struggles, internal betrayals, and WrestleMania-worthy feuds are lurking in the shadows. Will Solo's bold moves secure the Bloodline's dominance, or will his leadership unravel before he can cement his rule? One thing is certain, the war for the bloodline's future is far from over.